on for the day.
First of all, we need to know where we're at, why we're here, and what the,
See, that's why you're a good chairman. Tourism Board, regular meeting, Friday, March 1st, 9 a.m., City Hall, 8 North Elmhurst Road, Prospect Heights, Illinois, 60070.
order of business, your question is on the agenda.
Okay, move to elect a chairman pro tem.
Well, do we have a quorum?
Roll call.
Well, we have to call to order after we elect the chairman to call to order.
The opener should call the.
All right, I'm calling it to order. 9:12, that's my call.
And then.
AM.
We have always here.
And I, Karen Schulteis,
Are you here?
yeah. In theory.
Theory or Siri? What's next?
Okay, and one, am I around?
Yeah.
Commissioner Helmer,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hager, Commissioner Patel,
Here.
and Officer Tebow. And we have our Assistant Finance Director, Grafin, Director of Building and Zoning, Building and Development, Peterson, and Treasurer Tibbetts.
And who,
And we do not, well, we don't, by prior notification, our chairman, Allgauer's not here.
Is there a quorum?
We have a quorum.
Okay, who are the quorum people?
The Chairman Schulteis, Chairman Helmer, Chairman Hager, Chairman Patel.
We're all chairman? That's
Yeah.
fine.
Until otherwise stated.
Yeah. We could have.
All right, I move to make the mayor the chairman. Second,
For today
for
only.
today, pro tem.
I'll second that.
Oh,
Okay.
this is that.
And
Uh,
voice vote, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, carries. Mayor,
Oh,
you take
yeah.
over.
All right, so approval of December 7th, 2018 meeting minutes. Who's handling the minutes?
I have the minutes here.
Recording?
Since I wrote them, I will not make a move. Somebody else can move to.
I reviewed them last night. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll do second.
And roll call, please.
Okay, Chairman Pro Tem Helmer,
Here.
Commissioner Schulteis, aye.
Or yes.
Chapman's aye.
Chairman Hager, aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
All right. So now we have new business, grant allocation approval. The numbers were done by who?
Sherry.
Sherry, will you report on the numbers?
We received the grant request disbursements as follows. Hilton Hotel, $31,591.50. Crown Plaza, $25,249.25. Country Inn and Suites, $5,924.
All right, and there's no allocation to the Ramada at all?
No submission was
No
received.
submission.
They did not submit for.
Would they be due money? Had they been here long enough the first year type thing?
No, they would. We
Oh.
have an allocation set up for them that they've
All
not
right,
drawn.
were they notified that the meeting is here?
Yes, they were.
Do they have to receive or agree to receive that money, or can we just issue it?
No, they have to
It's not on here.
report to the
Right,
finance
it's not
director,
on here,
yes.
So there's not much we can do about it.
And Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting, we went through it in detail. I think Cameron was with us at the last meeting. We spelled it out in detail for him. He knows the process. Holly spent time with him, I spent time with him, so he knows what needs to happen.
All right, let's
I think
put-
his comment to us was something tied to his, wasn't it something tied to his corporation? That they were, it was something that was not high on their priority list for whatever reason. So that was kind of the impression we got at the last meeting. Correct?
All right,
I mean,
Yes.
let's
yeah.
accept the motion to approve, and a second, and then we'll discuss some of the issues that came up the last time. I presume they've been addressed or will be addressed. So we need a motion to approve so that we can continue the discussion.
Are we doing them independently or all together?
No,
Omnibus
just
motion?
do the whole thing.
All right, an omnibus motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the grant allocations
We need a
as.
second.
I'll second it.
All right, so discussion follows that, and I think the issue was that one or two of the aldermen weren't satisfied that they had enough detail as where the money was going. Have we done anything about that?
Yes, we revamped the submission request. There's a cover sheet that comes down to the total requested. Then there's an Excel spreadsheet that it indicates what each expense is related to and what it's for, how the city benefits. And then all the numbers flow through from the invoices to the summary to the total.
All right, did have the parties to the agreement, you got copies of that?
Yes, and that's what we put in the city's accounts payable files to support the disbursement.
Okay, Jason, you received a copy?
Yes, I did, and Mr. Mayor, we also met with council. Holly and I met with council to review the process prior to Sherry coming up with the process in conjunction with us on the
Alright,
submittal.
so-
So yes, I did get a copy, yes.
Okay, and Sean, you probably didn't see it yet, did you see that?
I seen it, yes.
Okay,
That's according to how I submitted my paperwork.
These disbursements were submitted in the new format as well as the last meeting's disbursements. So now we're on our second round of utilizing the detailed formats.
all right, so everyone's aware, are the aldermen aware that this was done?
Yes, we sent either what was our weekly memo from the administrator or it was included in the packet.
All right,
So at some point, I have some questions.
let me think about this a minute. We've got a motion to approve what we have. Are you having questions on what we're talking about?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Tibbetts, go ahead.
Okay. You know, I am a little confused. I guess that's just really difficult to understand how this process takes place on every quarter. And mainly, I'm interested in learning how the calculations are made for the grant allocations.
So the grant disbursement is calculated every year based on the previous year's data. So it's data from 1 year prior. We take the total amount of hotel tax revenue that is collected and we project that, the expenses for the next year, and we come down to a revenue over expense number, whatever that is, based on those projections. And then according to the agreement, there's fixed costs that are allocated. I think it's 42.5% goes to police, 42.5% goes to beautification. I can't remember the other percent. So there's specific within the agreement allocations of that overage.
Well, the city gets, there are three beneficiaries to that.
Yes,
The city, the police, and the tourism.
and then whatever is left,
Beautification, rather.
then that's how it's, then once we get the number that's allocated to the district, I think it's 42.5%, then that's split up through to all the hotels within the district based on their percentage of receipts,
Receipts?
What they paid.
what they paid to us for hotel tax.
So if they paid $100,
So-
what do they get?
So it's based on the hotel taxes that are generated,
That we collect.
a percentage of that?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, the reason I'm questioning it is because in just the last year, the dollar amounts have been exactly the same. So is that common then for the dollar amounts to be the same for a year, each quarter? Is that,
Well, they're calculated for a year, so each quarter they'd be the same. You take their annual allocation divided by 4.
The annual allocation changes, but it's a quarterly submission, so it's always gonna be the same for 4 quarters, because it's an annual number divided by 4.
So next year, we projected in our budget, the revenue appears to be flat. And so our allocation next year is budgeted for our budget coming up now, 273 versus 288. And it's based on our receipts from fiscal 19. Last year's was based on fiscal 18.
okay, I get it now.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying that I get it is because it's really a formula. It's nothing to do with advertising.
Correct.
You know, that's the problem that was, you know, that we all had with the home rule thing, was based on the fact that we all believed that it had something to do with the actual advertising expenses that the hotels had.
Well, it does. For us to get the money, it does. For you to calculate the number of what we're allowed, it doesn't. But for me to request the submittal, it does base itself on advertising, yes. So just because you give me a dollar amount,
Well,
I still have to tap into it.
that's what you're using it for. That may be true.
No, that's
But-
in the agreement.
No, that's in the agreement, that's what's required. That's the agreement.
So it's up
Okay,
to
now
them.
I'm still confused. That's even more confusing. You're saying that the allocation is based on your advertising costs?
No, no, it's based on the agreement in place with the questions you have are for your municipality, not for the hotels. That's a question you guys need to talk about internally. We're just following the agreement. The agreement is you allocate the money to us, but for us to tap into the money, we have to present documentation to show the utilization of the funds.
And
That's,
it's not just advertising.
Do you?
There's quite a.
yes, of course we do. That's the whole process we just went through.
I've never seen it. That's the reason.
That's why I'm saying that's really an internal discussion you should be having with your team, not our tourism council.
That's okay. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. It's just that, because this has kind of come to light in the last 6 months or so
Agreed.
as to, the nature of it. It is, obviously, to the novice, it's really confusing. I mean, I understand the concept, but still, the implementation of it seems to be backwards, in the sense that it is based on a formula. And so that's why I have a hard time understanding what the relationship is to the advertising.
I disagree with that.
Rich,
You
have
don't-
you seen the agreement?
How do you not agree with
Rich,
that?
have you read the agreement?
Yeah.
So, but you didn't seem to understand what's happening here.
This has been,
Well, that's why I'm here, just to understand it.
Why are you here, by the way?
I'm here to ask questions and get a better understanding of how the
But I mean,
tourism.
you're not on the board, you're a visitor, or what would you call yourself?
I'm the treasurer of the city. I'm asking questions at a meeting.
All right.
Can I not ask any more
Of course
questions?
you can, you're
Okay.
recognized.
but I would make a comment out of respect for our chairwoman. I would ask that if you have questions you would like to ask, submit them to the tourism council and our chairwoman can answer them on behalf of the commission. I don't think it's fair that Holly's not here for this discussion. So I think our chairwoman is not present. I would ask that as a board, if there are
Right.
questions on behalf of the city, we table them, you submit them, and we review them at a tourism council meeting in our future. That's my opinion. Our chairwoman is not present.
Well, I'm just trying to have a friendly discussion.
I realize that, but what I'm saying to you is your discussion is really not any bearing of our tourism council. It's you to talk to your internal people. That it's already, it's all outlined on a document. So you're asking questions of us that you should already have answers to from the inside of the Prospect Heights community. That's my
You know, I
answer.
think it's good to mention that the portions that go to the police department and to the city
Right.
is not quite defined as much as your requirements are to get call it rebate.
Sure.
Or
Sure.
whatever you do. You are required to follow the items that are on the agreement. And that's the only place you can spend money.
Correct.
That's not true of the city or the police department.
Got it.
Although
Yeah, from
they-
our perspective, it's all clearly outlined on the agreement.
Right. It's, entry by entry, what you spend on advertising, what you spend on any of the other allocated, allowable chargebacks.
Right, I agree. And I'm not trying to be difficult. Holly should be present for this conversation. If you have questions or you're asking, Holly's family obviously was very involved with the mayor when this incepted. How many years ago? I don't even know. This was long before my time. And there is an actual agreement on paper.
Well, I wasn't trying to get into, individual hotels and what they're charging to the tourism district at all. I mean, and I have nothing against the hotels, by the way. I mean, nothing. So I'm just doing this from a standpoint of learning and being able to express the nature of this to other people, because I get questions. So that's what I'm here for.
But I think my point is I don't know that this is the right forum for that. I think a meeting with Sherry and the city finance director to sit down and understand it is probably more appropriate than the tourism council meeting, is my opinion. Just my opinion. I don't know. I think the finance director and the assistant finance director can walk you through the entire agreement in a separate meeting.
It's not the agreement that I have a problem with. I understand the agreement. I can read it. I know that.
Okay.
It's just the chapter and verse of this as to how it gets implemented. That's why I'm here.
And I think finance can probably have a meeting with you to talk that through.
So Treasurer, we do that calculation like during our budget process for the city, which we've done now for next year's grant allocations by way of making a budget for that tourism fund on our city's budget. That is the calculation to get to those numbers. So we basically use the receipts that we collect from hotel tax by the state that we get to the city next year, we're estimating it's gonna be 800,000. We project what the expenses for the tourism district are gonna be based on, what's in there, professional fees, and there's, administrative costs, and there's beautification, and police, and, grant disbursements, and we come up to our net number. So those budgeted numbers are estimated every year. And then once we take the number times 42.5%, that's in the agreement, that goes to the tourism district hotels. And that number, whatever it is made available to the hotels to request disbursement. And in order to get a disbursement for that amount of money, they need to submit advertising bills and whatever other invoices they have paid that are detailed in the agreement, types of costs that are reimbursable, and then we approve it. And they're distributed maximum amount of 1/4 of the amount per quarter, because we want to get the hotel tax revenue in before we disperse it out. So it's based on a quarterly disbursement at 1/4 of the amount to each hotel, based on their supported invoices that they give us that they had already paid those costs.
So they must be submitting more than the amount allowed in order to justify the exact same amount based on the formula.
That is correct.
Right.
So for example, in Crown's disbursement this quarter, they submitted 75,747 of expenses, and we're paying them 25,000.
You're talking about Crown Plaza? Is
Yes.
that what you said? Okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
they submit the invoice, they pay, and we only pay the 25,249 because that's 1/4 of their allocation.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's really where this thing goes off the track, I think, from a logical standpoint. So I understand
Okay.
better.
All right. Thank you. Did we vote on something?
We did not vote yet, we had a discussion.
All right, should we vote?
Yes, roll call.
Yes.
Chairman Pro?
Yes,
Karen?
talking about the disbursements.
Yes,
All right.
and an omnibus motion for the disbursements,
No,
Hilton
you
Hotel.
can't do that with one individual.
Okay, well, we had it set up as an omnibus in the beginning,
So
so
let's change it.
let's
When you
redo
deal
the,
with cash, you want a roll call. When you deal with generalities, you can do an omnibus.
okay, then I move to approve the Hilton Hotel grant of $31,591.50. Have a second?
Second,
Okay, roll call vote. Chairman Pro Tem?
yes.
Karen Schultes, yes?
Sean Patel, aye.
Jason Hager.
Okay. I move to approve a Crown Plaza grant of $25,249.25. Second?
Second,
Okay, that's a roll call. Mayor?
yes.
Karen Schultes, aye.
Sean Patel.
Jason Hager, aye.
Okay. And I move to approve Country Inn and Suites grant of $5,924. Second?
Second,
Okay, that's a roll call.
yes.
Yes?
Yeah, Sean Patel, aye.
Chairman Hager, aye. Or, Commissioner Hager, aye.
Last question, you're good with all these numbers?
Yes.
Verified, have you worked on them, ready to pop?
Mhm.
Okay. Motion has been approved
Yes.
for all disbursements, items 1, 2, and 3, and voted on. All right, so that's done. Any questions on that issue at all? All right. What's next?
Beautification?
Superintendent Roscoe is out of the office today, and so at this point in time, he has reached out to our landscape company. I can't report back on what it is. You know, he's been dealing with snow, ice, and storms, but he did say that he did reach out to Landscape Concepts. I think the plan was to move forward pretty much where we were and try and add some more color in those places that were identified. But I will make sure that Mark reaches out when he gets back as to, what he's got to date.
Dan, are we leaving the lights on Milwaukee Avenue? Did you see the Christmas lights are still on the trees on Milwaukee? They're plugged in. And I might not be calling out something that we said. I don't know.
No, again, with the conditions that we've had and dealing with some other stuff, I know they're supposed to be off, I believe, previous to this, but I think they were gonna be targeting the first part of March.
My only thought, I don't care if they sit up, but can
Okay.
someone just unplug them? Maybe unplug them, have them go through and just disconnect the
I think
power?
that makes a lot of sense.
They can leave them until June, I don't,
Yeah.
whatever. Or maybe one of
You
them
wouldn't even
might,
notice them if they were.
just unplug them. This morning,
Okay.
I drove in early this morning, and
Well,
I drove past them, I'm like, oh, they're still on.
I'll follow with,
Perfect.
okay.
Any other questions?
No, I thought everything was fine. I think we talked last time about the color, and I really didn't have any, I think things look great. I think you guys
Market's
do a
lit
good job.
up, right?
Yeah, I think,
I agree with you.
And I know there's been much discussion about trying the banks and then down that area down by where the split is to try and, that one island on the, west side.
oh, yeah.
So Mark was, talking landscape concepts about that, but again, I did not have a chance to get a solid answer from him before he left. Just know that he did reach out and is working on it.
No, I think I have really nothing on my end.
Okay.
The road looks really nice. You guys did a great job on Winkleman. Everything looks really good there. We've had no more issues with our little driveway,
Good.
but it looks really good. You guys did very nice.
By the way, have you put up a larger warning sign for, you and Holly, someone put up a sign, a larger warning sign down on your west entry?
Yep, I did. I've had no more issues. Everything's been really good.
Or is it a larger sign?
Yeah, I put a circle boom
Mhm.
on the wire,
Yeah.
and then I put signs on both sides, angled in both directions. So as they're coming down Winkleman, they can see it on both ways.
All right, is anything lit up?
Yeah, we have a light. We have two lights right there on either side of the driveway. So it's lit, kind of accent lighting. It's not on it, but it's enough that you can see it.
All
And we haven't had a problem. In the very beginning we did till we put that up.
Yeah,
We haven't had a problem since those went up.
all right.
And it's been, how many months? 4 or 5 months now?
At least,
It's been good. Most of it was our own problem, was our vendors. US Foods, Performance Foods, Cisco Foods, they take their truck down. We talked to all them too, so that's really the only issue that we've had, so it's been good. But the road looks really good. I think it turned out really, really great,
Yeah.
so that corner's good. We're very
What
happy.
about
Holly and I are
the,
both very happy.
Corner down on Sanders and Winkle.
What about that corner?
Yeah.
I don't come in that way a lot. Holly uses that more than I do. I haven't heard of any issues. Check
The
with
issue
Holly.
was potholes.
Yeah, right, I remember that.
People were complaining about flat tires, but that's not our problem, that's
Right.
Northfield's problem. And we made some phone calls, I
Good.
don't know if they fixed it or not.
They did work there before Winkleman got fixed, so maybe they
Okay.
fixed all of that. I'm not 100% sure what they did, but I have not heard anything about that in months, so hopefully it's fixed. So, yeah, no, good.
Okay, and then anything else for Dan via Mark Roscoe, nothing?
no.
You know, the agenda should show that Bain is here.
I have it in the agenda.
That's right.
Or not the agenda.
Oh, not the agenda, I have it on the, it's gonna be in the minutes.
Officer Bain.
Officer
I know,
Bain
but
spoke.
he should have a right to speak.
Oh, I didn't know, he can speak.
But yes, our representative.
He's sleeping right now? Yeah.
The representative from the police department should always give his
He's
report
going in the
too.
minutes.
Would you call, I'll call on Officer Thibault, what's happening in that area?
Nothing really new to report, despite the fact that I am on light duty. I am always available if anybody needs me. And if I cannot make it personally to the hotel and you need me there, or you need an officer there, there will be one already assigned to that district if I'm not on the street. So, always available at your service. It's been slow, so that's a good thing.
Hunkered down.
Yeah.
inside.
Nobody's going outside.
Yeah.
Right, no kidding.
The only question I have is, how is the traffic been over there with the improvements in the driveway, or has there been any change in your original complaints about people passing through the parking lots or backed up traffic during rush hours? Is it smoother, a little better?
It's kind of the same. It's
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it's not bad, not good. It's kind of the same. It's a busy corner, so I don't have a lot cutting through Crown Plaza, as much as I used to, but
I feel like that's important though.
yeah, it's been okay. Let's just say I haven't taken notice of it, so it's
Okay.
probably the same as it's been, 6 months ago.
No guest complaints or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No, I've
No,
not
that's
heard
good.
anything.
All right, let's go around. Sean, anything to add or subtract?
Well, Not really, I'm done with hotel now,
It's
so,
sold,
yeah.
You closed? It's all
Yeah.
closed there?
The property is closed,
Wow.
yeah.
are they working on it? They said in about 6 months.
Yeah,
It
about
should be
6
ready.
months, yeah, 6 to 8 months, they're probably looking to open in August. Yeah. So a lot of work has been going on right now,
Mhm.
but I'm no longer with properties anymore, so I need to resign the board as well.
Oh,
How's
But,
your,
it's been great
the
working with
building
you.
property, are you keeping that?
So far, yes, I put it for sale now.
That's up for sale?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going full-time in movie business.
I know that. I didn't want to bring it up in view of the
Yeah.
recent issues.
Yeah. He told us last time Empire, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're doing a feature film, so,
Oh,
yeah,
Well,
in Chicago?
in Chicago.
Yeah, Pritzker and our mayor, Ron, were on this morning
Mhm.
evaluating all the filming that's going on in our city.
Mhm.
We're second only to Hollywood now, so,
Yeah, yeah, it's big now.
yeah.
Yeah, Chicago getting a lot of shows here.
Well, they had the 100,000, 200,000, I don't know,
Yeah.
stage, they showed the inside of the, have you seen that place?
The CineSpace. CineSpace is the huge,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that's what I'm talking
yeah,
about.
that's got almost 40 stage.
40 stages,
Yeah,
yes, you
yeah.
said that,
Yeah. That's where all the things are happening,
right,
you know, all the shows happens there.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
and I heard that it's not big enough.
It's not big enough, right?
Well, they're
So
expanding
there
it,
is-
you said that
Yeah.
this morning,
Yeah, there is more, yeah, they're adding quite a bit stuff there, yeah. So a lot of shows are coming here, I'm connected with Bollywood as well, so we've been doing quite a bit of projects with them, so, yeah.
So when you're a star, can we get free tickets from you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you a link for a movie.
There you go. Put
Directly.
you on the city website.
Yeah. Talking about movie, I do need to shoot one scene at the airport, and I'm having a hard time getting through.
Really?
So I don't know if this airport can help us out with it.
With what?
We have a scene where the police officer from India comes into US, where he lands and just walks out the airport.
Are you talking about Chicago Executive?
Yeah.
You shouldn't have a problem at all, so
Okay.
if you want to meet afterwards, we'll make the phone call.
Yeah, please, I would like to,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
All right.
that's great.
Jace, anything?
No,
All's good in the
All is
Western world?
oh, it's we're in March already. It's like,
Yeah.
first 2 months are gone.
Yeah.
Occupancy was good during the,
Yeah, we're doing good. We're renovating, right? So the Crown Plaza is doing an official renovation, full blown, full edge, yeah, everything's getting done. Public areas, interior, exterior. Obviously, we'll work with Dan and his team. We're still early on. IHG is reviewing all of the submissions and, but the entire hotel, top to bottom, will be completely renovated. Carpeting, wall vinyl, paint, lighting, guest rooms, everything. Our exterior signage already went up. Some of the new signage, which we have a permit for, that already went up. So we're starting. So you're gonna hear a lot more about Crown Plaza in the next 6 months. I have to be done with it by November. So between now and November, you'll see some significant
but
changes.
you'll be open.
Oh yeah, we're not gonna close, absolutely. I'll work around the occupancy and do our best, and we'll stay in touch with Dan and his team. But yeah, it's exciting. So it'll look completely different. Right now, we're in tans and browns and creams, and the new look will be grays and blues and grages, they call it. It's gonna be completely different. Very modern, very upscale. It's gonna look great. So it'll be great for the city with Hilton and the renovations they just did, and then ours.
Sure.
So it'll be good. We're excited.
They're gonna have a re-grand opening?
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
We'll do a great big thing. We'll want the city
You
involved
need
in
to have the
it.
ribbon cutting.
Absolutely, yeah. We'll want the city involved in it for sure.
The
and-
director.
Yeah, right. We'll have you all there, yeah. It's exciting. It's time. So we're excited. It'll be good.
Well, that's good news, you know, like everyone refers to Wheeling as Restaurant Row. Well, I've been trying to pitch Hotel Row. We got 6 areas.
Only with the ones we already have. We're not building any more,
Right.
right? We're just
6,
hotel row with the existing.
you guys lead the pack, obviously, out of 6, and Ramada's struggling. Of course, I don't know what that cowboy place is next to Players there. I don't know if anyone lives there or spends time there. So that's the 6th one, and I don't try to even think about that one. But you'll have your place replaced by Holiday Inn?
It's by Express, Holiday Inn Express.
When is that opening? November, August?
Yeah, Aliup's gonna report on the update. I've been in touch with the new ownership group and working with them on permits and
Yeah.
planning, so.
And
Have you
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, no, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Have you talked to Sean about the problem? with the
Yeah,
easement?
Sean's been very cooperative on the cross-access easement agreement. We've been able to get the information from, and,
Thank you for doing that.
yeah.
No problem.
Yes, Sean was, Jason, he was in agreement, he helped us get the easement from the old Burger King down at the end of his street.
Oh, wow.
Now, you've got access going out, what is that, River Road?
Yeah, right,
And, but when people want to go north,
right.
they got a problem. So, he gave us access via an easement from behind his hotel to the stoplight.
Really?
Yeah.
Mhm. That's good.
Wow, that is good.
So then Burger King has direct access from Apple Drive now,
Yeah.
right?
So,
Wow.
And the paperwork was all
Which-
signed and.
which, the new group wasn't fully aware of.
I was just gonna say, I'm shocked that went through
So,
with change of ownership.
but it was already pre-signed and agreed, it was just having the right documents and making sure the new ownership group of both lots affected will get it recorded,
And they agreed to it, and they're good.
Well, they're waiting for it to be recorded.
they're waiting to record it. The ownership group for the Burger King property is moving forward to execute the actual recording, but there's signed agreements, cash transpired, there's a formal signed notarized agreement, it just never.
You hit on the keyword cash transpired.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
No, there was a receipts back and forth that it was between the two parties
Yeah,
at the
right.
time that executed this, it wasn't formally recorded at the
Right.
county, so it never showed up in a title search report, but now you have to deal with signed agreements.
Right. Got it.
Previously
I
they
get
did,
it.
so.
Makes sense.
All right, so that's
Yeah, it was
going
very
along,
helpful
it's
for
been
us too.
solved.
Yeah.
Good.
The new ownership group, the Brass Group, did formally get approval from Holiday Inn Express. Back in December, it was still tentative, they were working on final contracts. They reported last month that it was formally gonna be the Holiday Inn Express. They do not have to put in the pool. Holiday Inn agreed to that, which I know you,
Which was $2.6 million loss.
but,
In the water.
yeah, they're not going to be opening the full kitchen or the ballroom either. So that's gonna be potential new office use or some other potential use. We'll be working closely with the hotel management on that. They've already started demoing all the guest rooms on floors 2 through 5. We'll be coming forward with, new color schemes, new bedding. No new electrical, mechanical, or anything in those areas. That's all, it's good shape. I'm waiting for the final Holiday Inn approved first floor remodel plans. They're gonna be putting in some walls, some reconfiguration of offices and new breakfast area. So as soon as that comes in, permits all, but they said that they're targeting that July, August, trying to hit up on still some of the summer activity. That's why you probably see vehicles out there and fence, some people working, so that's what's going on. And they have received, they've been informed of this group. They will make sure Karen gets the new assigned general manager at the time.
Yes.
The ownership group was aware of it, they just didn't feel they were in a position to come yet, so.
Who signs for a liquor license on something like that?
They will have to fully reapply for a new liquor license because it's a
Who
totally.
signs
new
for it? The manager that's working there or the main
It's usually
company?
the manager.
It's usually the onset, the local GM.
Yeah, usually. You can do it either way. You could do it either way.
Corporate wise, or it all depends on what their agreements are.
Yeah.
I don't think they are interested in liquor license.
No, at this point in time, they did not express any interest in, because they're closing they're not opening the ballroom, the full kitchen, or the bar, so it may not be going for. liquor
Expresses
license.
usually don't have that, so that
They-
makes sense.
They may do
Manager's reception.
Yeah.
Would you make them have a license for that? They'd have to, right?
We'd have to talk about that. We haven't had that ever before here,
Yeah.
so, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, you should talk about that, so there's some precedence on that.
Basically, what he's talking about is a lot of the Holiday Inn Expresses, like the one they built in Lake Zurich when I was there, they would have what's called manager's receptions from 5 to 7 or something like that, and they'll put out a cooler with some cold beers and wines complimentary to the guests, typically.
Yeah, I just stayed in one,
So,
where it was warm. That's what they had. They just had,
So-
But I think you should think about that from your own liability as a city, they should have something, because you're still allowing alcohol in an open environment, underage drinking, things like that, so.
well, that's a lockout. You need a-
No, but I mean, like, if they don't have an attendant
Oh.
serving during the manager's reception, and they just kind of put a nice little thing out. You may have policy already in place, I'm just saying you may wanna dust up on that,
I haven't seen one for our city, but.
or develop one.
Yeah, I know when we were in Lake Zurich, when they started it, the caveat is that the manager, because it was their reception, had to be there.
Right, and then he had to be licensed as a bartender usually. That's what some of the other municipalities are
private?
required.
Oh,
Is-
it
is it being
comes to
sold?
bar in these
But
places.
I know, but at the manager's reception, you're still giving away alcohol,
the
so.
hotel's supplying it, there's
Isn't
no, typically, there's no
Yeah.
money transactions,
So that's
and it's,
could be considered like a private event,
but it,
unless
But
it's every
daily.
day.
Yeah, but daily. See, and I'm not worried about I shouldn't say the legality. I'm not worried about the semantics. What I'm worried about is who's giving away the alcohol, and are they giving it to an underage person, and what is the city's feeling on it? Have you approved that? Have you not? I'm just talking more on the city liability side. That's what I'm talking
All
about.
right, good point.
Just for some discussion.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it in place, now would be a good time for you to talk about it and say, what do you want for some policies on it?
yeah, and, in my discussions with them, we haven't even got to that point, they're just concerned about operations of the breakfast
Yeah,
area,
right.
how that's gonna work, so.
All right, we exhausted that.
Yep.
Sherry, anything you want to add?
No, everything's good. All the paperwork came in, all good, no problems.
Did you get mine for 10,000?
Missed them.
It's been missed for 8 years now. Officer, anything?
No, Mr. Mayor, everything's,
All right, our guest, Mr. Tibbetts. Karen, did we call on
No, but Sean, can you just write like one sentence saying you're resigning, so that I'll put it in the records? Thank you.
Absolutely.
you? Did
Thank
you
you.
turn in your liquor license?
Oh, he did a while ago, yes, he
Okay.
did, yes.
You just want his autograph, that's all.
I do, because my son's in the business too. so.
Is he? I didn't know that.
That's good.
All right, do we need a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?